Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Grimdark Breakdown. So we've got part two of our maybe end of the edition sisters list. So they got no points changes, nothing in the data slate for their rules. They are the exact same as they've been playing. So what are some good lists? So I went over in part one, Hallowed Martyrs, how that works and how you can be successful potentially with that list. Now I'm going to go over Champions of Faith, my thoughts on it, and how you can potentially play it. So, Champions of Faith is different than Hallowed Martyrs. Champions of Faith is more of what some people call a blunter list or a stat check list. It is just a difficult list that you are trying to present them with a problem and go, do you have an answer for it? And it's literally that simple. So, I'm going to walk through kind of my list, how I use things and what they're for. If you've watched any of my videos before, I'm a big believer in you create a plan and then you stick to your plan. The reason being is that obviously you can pivot as you need, but if you know this unit is for my home point, this is for my expansion, this unit is going here, by the time you're on game 5, game 6, game 7, if you're going to a big US Open type thing, you're exhausted mentally and physically, and you're going to forget all kinds of stuff. But if you have every single game sent Junith and Sacrosancts to this point, you're not going to forget to do that because that's what that's what you're doing every time. So you get into autopilot mode and it becomes a much more successful game plan. So I've got 10 battle sisters. I'm running on the home point. Again, I because they're home points, they've got flamers, 3 flamers on them, right? The I'm probably only overwatching like a little 5-man or something that comes in, but other than that, their sole job is to screen out your backfield. If they don't have anything because they sticky the point, then I may send them out into the board to do things. But that's what they're there for. And their job is purely just to screen out the backfield and then potentially, depending on the army matchup, move out. My new favorite thing is Junith and 5 Sacrosancts on my expansion. Junith's ability is when she's leading a unit, that unit has -1 to be hit. Sacrosancts obviously have -1 to be wounded when they're being led. So you got a unit that's -1 to hit, -1 to wound, 3 up, 4 up, right? So they are a tougher unit than you'd expect. Junith's got a pretty good flamer, and she's got a tough stat line. The Sacrosancts, aren't any joke either. So I'm running them on my expansion objective, and their job is just to hold it. Now, I have a squad of battle sisters that I've split. So we're going to talk about the dinky sisters, the bolt gun and the simulacrum sisters first. If I have an army they've got a ton of stuff, so like say guard, I'm putting those sisters over there also because that's 10 OC2 units, which is going to give me a ton of OC. And I'm going to put the battle sisters in the front as kind of like a screen, if you will. And then Junith and the other girls on there, because then I can secure with, like 23 OC that they're not going to just stand on that point and take it from me. If they try to charge something in, they're going to have to charge into the battle sisters first, which I'm totally fine with. So we're doing that. If they're not playing that kind of list, and I'm not worried about them coming after my expansion because they're going to be fighting elsewhere, then Junith and those Sacrosancts, they're going to march right on out and either go support the mid or they're going to go attack the enemy's home point. Because you got to keep in mind, if you make them a champion unit, they're going to move 7 inches, right? And then you can advance them. So moving 10 inches from your expansion point will get them right outside of the enemy's wall that's probably at their home point. And then the next turn, they can actually be in there. So it creates a threat that they have to deal with. For the midpoint, I've got a Rhino that I will start 10 Sacrosancts with a Hospitaller in, just to keep you guys, if you can't remember, 3 up, 4 up. They're going to have -1 to be wounded, 5 up, feel no pain, and then they're going to res D3 +1 because you're always, unless you're only missing 1 model, you're always going to spend a miracle dice to bring as many back as humanly possible. But turn 1, I'm sending them straight to the midpoint. Straight to the midpoint. My goal is typically trying to get 4 girls on the point and then all the rest in cover. And I'm making the Hospitaller where she is literally untargetable so that I don't have to worry about precision attacks, or like if they're trying to charge and do precision, they're not going to get base to base with her because she's all the way at the back of the line and hiding behind a wall. but 4 girls on that point is going to give you 12 OC. So they can't just put something dinky like a 5-man battle line is only 10 OC. You're still fine, right? So you're good. And you're gonna force them to either deal with them or put more on. I am then going to reload immediately with Insidious. So I've been trying some Insidious. I started with a Palatine leading them. I've switched back to a priest, but my job with them is I'm going to pick as their sacred unit that they get all their rerolls with. I'm picking whatever I think they want to be putting on the middle objective. It could be anything from a single lone op character to jungle fighters to, a ghost kill, whatever I think they are. My perception is that's what they're going to put onto the middle point. That's what I'm picking, because when I reload them into the car, got to keep in mind, coming out the car, they're going 9 inches, right? Then after they go 9 inches, they've got some dinky guns. But again, if you've got a 6 in your pool for a miracle dice, now you're at 15 inches of movement. A 3 is pretty reasonable, 18 inches, and then you got a 1-inch engagement. So they got a 19-inch threat range from coming out of the Rhino. And you got to keep in mind that Rhino, you're going to go all the way to the wall. So you can very easily charge past the midpoint with them. And if they're attacking that target, they're going to have full rerolls to hit. And because we're playing Champions of Faith, I'm going to spend the CP a lot of the time. If it's something tough, I'm going to give them lethals. If it's not something tough, then I'm going to give them sustained, so that they're just cranking and cranking and cranking, and that's the ideal, in my opinion, like target for them. And just going full at whatever that is, right? Then I do have a second unit of Sacrosancts. As soon as my Insidious launch out, I'm reloading them into the Rhino, right? Because the thought process is that my first ones are going to take the blunt of force on turn 2 and 3. On turn 3, my Insidious are fighting stuff, and at that point, I'm probably getting a little bit thinner in the middle. I'm killing some stuff, but I'm getting killed. I'm immediately sending now another 10 bodies of Sacrosancts right into the middle, because if you keep that pressure in the middle, it really makes your side lane be able to breathe a lot easier, and kind of do that. You'll notice I've got these Sanctifiers kind of out in the middle. So the Sanctifiers play a very weird role. If you get screened early with like an infiltrator or anything like that, their job is to go out there and kill it. They've got a million flamethrowers. They've got deceivingly decent melee. So killing a little 5 or a dinky 10-man like infiltrator is not a problem for them. And so my goal for them is to do that, and then they can either support the mid, or a lot of the time I'm going to attack my enemy's expansion and start moving that way. Because if they're moving up with a ton of flamethrowers, and we're about to get to this, and I also have an Immolator with 5 battle sisters that are going to be equipped with melta guns. So they'll have a melta rifle, and they'll have a multi-melta. Well, remember, Champions of Faith, Battle Sisters are one of the units that you can get the plus to ballistic skill. So that multi-melta is now on 3s, the melta rifle's on 2s, right? Inferno pistol's on 2s. So it's pretty nasty. So I know it's called a hunter killer, but I always just basically go, an Immolator's got 3 melta guns. So with the others, you're actually going to go from 3 to 5, 6, 7 melta shots in this vehicle. So when you run, what I like to do a lot of the time is my Immolator will early game attack my opponent's expansion. I don't expect them to take it from them, but I do expect them to take some casualties. I'll kill a transport that's sitting over there, or they'll kill something, and I'll even use a grenade to really like weaken that, so they're forced to reinforce. If they reinforce, then my Sanctifiers, while moving up the board, they're probably not going to get targeted because they're fighting all the stuff in the mid. They now go, because my whole goal between these 3 units that are kind of most likely going to the expansion is if I can keep them from scoring their expansion for 1 round, then I've got a good thing going, because I'm going to have so much tough stuff in the middle that even if they flip my expansion, I'm probably going to hold the mid more than they are going to hold. So overall, we're winning that primary game, right? Now we come to the hammer. So Morgan, the entire time, layout 1 is the most commonly used layout in all of Warhammer. So it looks something like this. Guys, Morgan is sitting right here, just waiting to pounce. And the beauty of this is that the middle point is going to be about where this sister is. So when she comes out and goes her 8 inches, you have to keep in mind their threat range, 18 inches for those melta guns is pretty gosh darn far. And what you really, really want to happen is pretend these girls are fighting and these retributors are like the enemy tank or big gun. You want Morgan and the girls to be able to come out 8 inches and then go, okay, we're going to shoot into these enemy tanks that are over here. Bang, 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 bang. And we're going to kill them. And then we're going to charge over here, because we already talked about how an 8 is a very realistic charge. And then now what you're doing is you're just creating more pressure and more combat in the mid. But I won't bring her out a lot of the time until turn 3. It's not uncommon sometimes for turn 4. Like, she is the one thing, once she dies, they don't have to respect you nearly as much, because you don't have anything that can just absolutely one-shot something or potentially kill 2 things, 1 in shooting and 1 in melee. So I will move her up as far as I possibly can and keep her safe, but then wait to pounce. As far as my Retributors, in this list in particular, unless I need a second one to keep somebody honest, so like Necrons, I'll keep a second one on the board to keep them honest, so that I have those extra melta guns. Otherwise, I love having all 3 in reserve, because I haven't found anything hardly in the game where if I bring all 3 in, because keep in mind, these girls have tiny bases. I have done this in more than 1 game, and people just look at you when you're like, okay, I'm bringing all 3 of these girls in from reserve, and they're like just stacked like that, and you go, that great unclean one needs to die. It's 100% dead, 100,000% dead. And I'll shoot the ones in the back first, then I'll shoot the ones in the middle, and if I need it, I'll throw a grenade with the 3rd one, and then I'll shoot the other ones. Nothing will live. Nothing will live. It's too many melta guns. It's just nasty. And when you keep in mind that you can also wait to attack something that's killed something. So now the whole unit, all of them are going to get +1 to hit, +1 to hit, +1 to wound. And depending on how that damage is going, you can always also go, I'm going to give this unit, I'm going to give one of them either lethal or sustained, so that I could make sure that I just absolutely crack into it. I don't always do all 3, but what I will do a lot of the time is I will do 2 of them into something tough, and then the other one will go to fire into something else that needs support. 18 inches is further than you think, especially like that board edge. You got 6 inches, right? So if you go right to the edge of the line, you're shooting like 24 inches into the middle, which is like past the midpoint of the board. The midpoint of the board is, I think, 25, maybe 30 inches. So like you're really firing into that thing, right? So you can really do some good damage. This is my list. I know Hallowed Martyrs is winning more events right now. I really enjoy this list. I think it's really fun. You need to play it correctly, because and when I say that, the hard part is you want to be a little bit more timid, because you're used to playing sisters and we're so fragile. You can't be timid with this list. Like, you got to throw stuff out into the middle, and your job is, I need to score my expansion and the middle point at all possible. Like, a perfect game for me is if on turn 2, I score the mid and I score my expansion point. Then from that point on, I know I am up on primary. I'm going to do everything in my power to, whether I get the mid ever again, to make sure they don't score the mid. Because if I can do that, then I'm going to win, because we play secondary very well with this army. You're going to win the game. So it's all about that. If you can deny their secondary for 1 turn, just 1 turn, again, like, it's a truly perfect game is where on turn one, say you've got like linchpin as an example. And it's like, okay, great. I'd score 13 primary. You scored 8 primary. And then on turn 3, the midpoint's contested, but you also contest theirs. So they score 3 and you score 8. You go up 10 points of primary going into turn 4. They now have to start making some incredibly aggressive moves or they just lose the game. They just straight up lose the game. So I think this is a really fun list. This I'll still be refining it over the next several months, but this is what I'm currently running. Hope this is helpful. Drop a like for the Emperor, subscribe for more content like this so that people can get exposed. And just a reminder, we actually do have a giveaway going on, the March of the Wolf. We are giving away some Space Corgis this month. So any of our Meta Monday videos, comment the word wolf, you can have a chance to win. We'll see you guys in the next one.